Hi everyone. On behalf of ICN, I welcome you all in this exciting session on drones. And to start with, I will request each one of you to share or talk about yourself in, let's say, one or two word lines. Starting with Mr. Hemendra Mathur, then Mr. Amandeep, followed by Mr. Rajaraman, Mr. Prem Kumar, Mr. Gaurav Keswal, and Saurabh Srivastava. Yeah, Mr. Hemendra, please.
Good afternoon to all the panelists and participants. My name is Hemendra Mathur. I work as venture partner with the early stage deep tech fund called Bharat Innovation Fund. I'm also co-founder of a startup called ThinkAg. It's a platform for connecting startups in food and agriculture with the larger ecosystem. And in my personal capacity, I do work with a lot of food tech and agri-tech startup as mentor, advisor, and board member. Thank you. And look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, sir. Amandeep.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Amandeep Pawar. I am a co-founder of a company called Bharat Rogan. So we are working with farmers and providing them with a role-based crop advisory, as well as working with them in the entire value chain, where we facilitate the sale of agri inputs as well as procure their farm produce, which is free from this chemical risk. So yeah, looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, Saurabh, please. Or if Raja could tell us something about himself.
Sure, thank you. My name is Raja Raman. I'm one of the co-founders and also an investor and a board advisor for Daksha Unmanned Systems. And we are a drone manufacturing company. We are a drone R&D, DGCA certified R&D organization here. We are incubated in a very famous university in South called Anna University. So Daksha is a name we take pride in, as it was named by Dr. Abdul Kalam in 2001. And we have inherited the name and the legacy. And we continue to do a lot of research in the area of drones. And then we also have started selling these drones to like Jai Kisan and Jai Jawan and the other way around. So we sell drones to both Army, Navy, Air Force, and also to for that set of drones is separate. And then we have a separate division focusing on agricultural spraying drones. So in summary, we are an R&D organization that has grown into a commercial solution provider for agri industry. Thank you.
Okay. Saurabh.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everybody. So my name is Saurabh Srivastava and I'm GM Sales, IoTech World Navigation. So basically, IoTech World is a drone manufacturer, and we specialized in agriculture drone, right? And recently we have got this type certification, right? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. To set the context, I believe the topic of the session is the role of drones in agriculture. And of late, we have been seeing quite a lot of traction from the industry as well as policy, as well as government side of it, in terms of rolling out PLI scheme for the drone side of it. So, as an investor, Mr. Mathur, how do you see this segment growing up in the coming times?
Yeah, I think it's a very promising segment. The government of India has come up with the standard operating procedures in last few months for agrochemical spray using drones. I think which is a very, very important step in building the drone ecosystem in India, especially for the purpose of agriculture. As you would know, the agrochemicals and pesticides are very important for plant protection. It's a large industry, and for years and years it has relied on manual spraying. And there are challenges in manual spraying, the cost of labor, in fact, the health risks which are involved for the farmers, the efficacy of agrochemicals, there's a lot of it get wasted. There's a study which says that if you use drones, the amount of agrochemicals that you need to use is just 10% of what you otherwise use in a manual application. So that's a significant amount of saving, 90%. Just imagine the cost that farmer would save, the time that farmer would save, and the efficacy, of course, will be far, far better with use of drones. So I'm not doubtful of the potential that exists in India. In fact, if you look at countries like China, a lot of spraying is already through drones. So it's not that it is something new to agriculture. But yes, in India, the adoption levels can increase significantly. As of now, most of it is in pilot stage with agrochemical companies as well as drone players trying to build solutions. Each crop has its own requirement, right? Some crops are tall, some are small, some are dense, some are less dense. So I think we need to build the right procedures and operation manuals for each of the crop. That is important. I see significant interest from startups who want to play a role in this space. It only time will tell how it will evolve. Will it be concentrated in few startups, or will corporates and startups will put together solutions, or will there be drone service providers? There'll be drone as a service become a model for local for a lot of local rural entrepreneurs. So multiple models are bound to evolve. What we need for this ecosystem to go to the next level, of course, one is the hardware side. I think one challenge is the battery life, because that's very short in my understanding. And if you want to continuously spray a couple of hectares, I think you probably need to change battery or you need to recharge it. I think that there's a hardware challenge at one end. Second, I would say training of youth who are in the rural areas, right? That's very, because it's a skilled job. It's a skilled job. So we need to build more drone academies. We need to build more training modules, offline, online, and train these youth, help them get some sort of certifications so that we build that capacity right there. As far as startups are concerned, I think partnership with agrochemical companies is extremely important. I think that is another important area. We are also seeing a lot of FPOs, farmer producer organizations, coming up in India. How you work with them is also going to be one of the key success factors. And yeah, I think it's a large opportunity. Of course, we are not discussing other application of drones, but use of drones for data collection, for for figuring out pest infestation, etc. I think there are like multiple applications which are possible. So in the same flight, you need not just spray the agrochemical, but also do some other value-added services, which can also be monetized at some point of time. So overall, I, as an investor, I'm bullish. I'm sure this segment is going to attract a lot of investments. The opportunities in both hardware as well as the service innovations that we are going to see in this space. And I think there's a clear role for the government, for the industry, for the local ecosystems like FPOs, especially Vigyan Kendras, agriculture universities, as well as startups. I think if we can pull all of them together, I am hopeful that we can really graduate to the next level, and we're going to see more drones in rural India than we have seen ever before. So I'll stop here and hand it over to you.
Quite interesting perspective, Mr. Mathur. And thank you for sharing this with us. I think we have with us another gentleman called Gaurav Keshwal, who is currently driving, I believe, in some hilly areas. So let's ask from him only. Gaurav, can you welcome Gaurav? I hope you can hear us. You are on mute. Gaurav, can you hear us? I think there is.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Am I audible?
Yeah, very much.
Am I audible?
You are very much audible. Yes. Okay. Gaurav, can you share a few lines about yourself and the work that you are doing currently from a professional side of it? Hello. Hello, I think there is
Sure.
Yeah, please go ahead, Rahul.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Joshi, for that. I would like to personally thank you for inviting me on this.
I think Rahul, Gaurav, there is some, connectivity problem at your end.
Event which deals with the rules of drone in agriculture. Yeah.
Okay, now let's move to Aman. Aman, can you tell us about your story as to how, when did you started and what made you enter this space of drones, or is it limited only to agriculture sector, or are you also targeting other sectors in the industry? Please, Aman.
Sure. We started during our college days. I think we were flying a lot. We were building a lot of aero models back in college and were experimenting a lot. And that's when we used to visit nearby farmer fields to fly the drone because that's the only area where we could get such kind of flexibility. So we used to fly there, and then that's how our interaction started with the farmers. And then we realized that they are facing these issues where there's no solution except going to a retailer. The issues like there would be a pest attack, disease outbreak, or any nutrient deficiency. All they had access to was that they would go to a nearby retailer, show them the plant, and then get whatever he or she is recommending. So we thought that why it's so why there is so much disconnect, like industries all over the world, across different regions are utilizing various technologies, but why India is lagging behind on those particular aspects. So we thought of initially we started to look at what effective ways we can use, and then we narrowed it down to drones because of the higher resolution, and then we mounted them with hyperspectral imagers, which is one of the most advanced remote sensing methods to acquire data. So we started to combine that. We brought in some experts like Dr. K.D. Singh, who partnered with us to provide the analysis. He was a PhD from IIT Bombay. So he had a lot of experience in using drones for hyperspectral imaging. So that's how we started, and we are now working with around 6,000 farmers across UP and Rajasthan, providing our drone-based advisory, as well as now looking to provide spraying services using drones as well.
Okay, sounds great. Coming to Mr. Raja Raman. So, Mr. Raja, I believe awareness, acceptance, skills, trainings to this particular community of farmers is a big challenge, I believe.
That's right.
How do you, through your initiative, are trying to address this, or bridge the gap between a service provider and the user of that particular service?
Yeah. See, we have been in the last couple of years, we have been involved with more than 12,000 odd acres of spraying across India. When we do that, one of the things we learned is that the farming community across India has been used to a certain method of working. For example, ये तो crop गीला होना चाहिए तभी तो आपको that's when they believe that this has been fully sprayed. The concept of having an atomizer spraying in a misty way and then hoping that they will take care of the crop is still not sunk into the farmers. It's a completely new concept also. Also, they are used to using backpacks and other kind of sprayers where it's about 100 to 200 liters of water is mixed with chemicals and then we spray. That is the old method. Now the new method is just 20 liters or 10 liters of water is enough. Whether you are doing crop nutrition or crop protection, in the case of pesticide or in the case of nano fertilizer, the amount of water consumption has come down by 90%, 80 to 90%. ये तो नया चीज है. I mean, this is difficult to digest for the farming community. So therefore, frankly speaking, many people are afraid of looking at it in a very positive way right up front. It's a leap of faith for them to say that, yes, I will go jump and then use the drone. Okay. So it is a lot of awareness needs to be created. One of the ways in which we are creating awareness, we took a three-pronged approach. Approach number one is we partnered with most of the chemical companies which are created the formulas for these things. For example, you may have a Syngenta, you may have Bayer, you have Coromandel fertilizers, or it could be IFCO. So many of those companies are very critical. So in terms of being advocates for how this new equipment is going to handle their chemicals, still with a much better output than what you're getting. So one way is to partner with these companies and then do several trials across India so that the word spreads between those communities. That is one way of doing it. Second way of doing it is we have established a nationwide network of agricultural equipment dealers who are very used to selling tractors and farm equipments across India, and they spread the knowledge to their communities because they hold a certain, they have their own agronomy specialists, because these are not small companies, they're large companies. They have their own agronomy specialists, and they know the molecule formulations and things like that. So they will be better advocates to, and words coming out of them would be a lot better than somebody, a drone manufacturer, telling what is the right way to do it. That is one thing. Third thing is we are collecting extraordinary levels of data in terms of efficacy. If you do a crop, if you do a spraying on cotton, for example, what is the effect of the spray? What is the data that supports that, yes, this is working? And similarly for chili, similarly for paddy crops, similarly for dense crop like maize and sugarcane, similarly for horticultural crops like pomegranates, or if you want cashew nuts and things like that. So we are doing extensive level of data collection so that this data can in turn be churned out as an intelligence over a period of time, and then we can do that. The fourth strategy we are using is to leverage the established institutions like ICAR or FPOs and things like that, and also to a large extent FSOs across the country, and also there are other cooperative societies and things like that. So we have to educate them as well in terms of, so therefore government has done a fantastic job of looking at this in 3 levels. And to make my story short, government has identified a certain level of 100% subsidy for people involved in demonstration and trials. Those are the FPOs and KVKs and things like that. So they have a way to buy the drone, literally the equipment free of cost, and then they can start using them for demonstrations. So that demonstrations over a period of time will show the farmers that, yes, it's really working. I mean, I didn't think it out this way. So this is, this is like the other person said, in our trials, we have seen 30-40% savings in pesticides. So these are all lessons which has to sink into the farmers, and it will take time. But it has to be I have been personally involved with several different type of organized structures like CII. I'm deeply involved with CII across India to spread the news. So and I give demonstrations on even virtual demonstrations of them drones are given here to show how exactly it works and things like that. So I think there's an extensive exercise required, and also to leverage universities, to leverage RPTOs. So these are all ways in which we are doing. I mean, I can literally take this session or this question alone for next 1 hour, but I'll stop right here.
Thanks, Raja. So let's hear from Gaurav if he is in a better connectivity zone now. Gaurav, can you hear us?
Gaurav, we can switch off the video if you like, so that the audio can be a little
Correct.
better.
Okay, moving on to Mr. Mathur again. Mr. Mathur,
Yeah,
are you around?
definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
Great.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I can. Am I audible too?
Nice to see you, sir, back.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
I might be audible now, I guess. Am I?
This is Gaurav, right?
Yes, it's Gaurav, I think, is talking.
So, Mr. Mathur, in terms of since you are, donning this hat of an investor or a PE, so what are the? Can you? I think this is more of a hidden book kind of a thing. Which a question which I might be attempting to ask from you is, what are the key parameters that you are looking in a startup who's focused on drones for the agriculture segment? if you could share some insights on that.
Right. Yeah, I think first and foremost, as an investor, you look for certain hygiene factors, founder's profile, their experience, and their team composition, complementary within the team. I think those are, especially for early stage startups, those are very critical hygiene factors. And as far as drone specific startups are concerned, and of course, Aman is there on the call and he has raised some money. I would say most of them are early. Of course, they're showing good traction at the beginning. As an investor, what I would look at is, as I mentioned earlier, if they have some capabilities on the hardware side, right? Is that differentiated from rest of the sort of ecosystem? There is some bit of proprietariness in the way they have developed it? That's one. Second, if it's largely a service model, what kind of partnerships? Because that's very critical, for any startup who's focusing on agriculture. I think building direct to farm models is not that easy, given the fragmentation in Indian agriculture, right? 85% of farmers are less than 2 hectares of land. So it's very unlikely if you have direct to farm model, you can build it. You can probably build it if you're operating in a certain geography, it's possible. But otherwise, I think partnerships play a very critical role. And that's where, how many agrochemical players do you work with? Do you have some sort of MOUs or some sort of agreement to provide services on behalf of them? That could be one. Second is also working with partners like FPOs and local universities. I think at least at the initial stage, these partnerships are critical. How do you build your reach? Right? And then I don't think you can build a regional or a pan-India model from the word go. You have to focus on certain crops. Right? So do you specialize in certain crops where you can probably be the best in, among the players who are there in the market? And of course, these are initial days. I'm sure models will evolve and pivot, but I believe drone as a service can also open more opportunities. For example, selling some inputs to farmer, helping farmers to build market linkages and sell their produce to potential buyers, right? Because you are working with the farmer. Can you expand? Of course, that probably nothing to do with drones, but given your relationship with farmers, how do you go backward and forward into the value chain is an opportunity. And as I mentioned, if you start collecting data also from your drones, that data can be very useful, especially for financial institutions who are lending to farmers, or for insurance companies who are building products for farmers, right? So can you build those databases? Can you build those analytics, which can potentially be useful for bankers and insurance companies? Then the models start looking a bit more holistic. Having said that, I'm not saying that a startup has to do everything to get funding. No, it's not necessary. It's impossible, especially in early stages, to do everything. But if you provide your drone services, which farmers are willing to pay, if there is a repeat request which come on your platform, it means you are developing stickiness. Your model is getting some traction. So I think that is at the core. What kind of farmer traction can you build? What kind of relationship you can nurture with farmers, which can potentially lead to other revenue streams in the future. But yeah, I think the quality of service, the claims that you make that you're going to save 60, 70, 80% of agrochemicals, those are critical. Can you also clump some bit of data and advisory? Like, I think Aman also does this, figuring out when the pest infestation is going to happen. Can you build those models and then say, look, this is the right time to spray a pesticide on agrochemical? So there's some element of data and advisory which can also come in. So my guess is maybe not now. I think seed stage funding, pre-series A funding can probably happen on the drone expertise per se for drone startups. But if you start looking at a Series A, Series B, late stage rounds, then I think their ability to monetize their infrastructure, their network, their farmer relationship becomes extremely critical. So that's my sort of it's more, I would say, sound more futuristic because the ecosystem is still new. But I see that's going to happen. I already seen some bit of strategic investments, especially from agrochemical players. Like Tanuka has invested in Iotech World, and I know at least 2 or 3 other large agri corporates looking to invest in good drone startups. So that is very interesting. Before financial investors are coming, some of the strategic players are trying to get early because they believe that's going to be the core to the business model. If they don't embrace this change, they may be left out. So it's a very interesting space where we are seeing more strategic action before I would say interest from financial investors, especially VC and PE funds. But yeah, an attractive space. And I think one last point I want to mention. Of course, agriculture itself is a huge area, and you can build a scalable model on agriculture. But most investors like some bit of hedging. So can I do infrastructure? Can I do mining? Can I do some other sectors where drone applications are required? So I think that also is a way of horizontal expansion. You can vertically specialize in agriculture. That's also an option, and that's also good enough. I'm not saying that you need necessarily have to move to other sectors, but as an investor, as an entrepreneur, it definitely gives you hedge against some sector goes up and down. I don't think most sectors need drones throughout the year, right? How do you improve capacity utilization? That's possible if you are doing multiple crops, or if you're doing multiple sectors. Then your ability to utilize the assets over a period of time definitely goes up. So I think these are some of the pointers towards what is going into investments when it comes to drone startups. Yeah, and the list, there'll be many players who will evolve. There may be consolidation 5 to 7 years time, but I see an opportunity of a lot of early stage funding at this point of time.
Okay. Is Saurabh around? Saurabh Srivastav from Iotech World? I don't see him here. Anyways.
Yeah, Mr. Joshi, I would like to say something before I go out of network. Am I audible now? Hello.
Yes, very much. You are, Gaurav.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the time and opportunity which you have provided. And it was wonderful listening to Mr. Hemendra Mathur and Raja Ramanji and Mr. Amandeep on the subject. I would like to say, first, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Gaurav Kestwal, and I'm a mechanical engineer by profession, and currently I'm representing a farmers group in Uttarakhand, which is into large scale aromatic and medicinal plants farming and all. And we are supported by the central and the state government scheme. And currently we have prepared like around 50 hectares of land for this lemongrass, Japanese mints, and things like that. So just something which is very common to us with the topic is that I am also getting drones in agriculture. The roles of drone in agriculture is same as bringing technology to the Indian farmer. And right now, like the place where I'm working in Uttarakhand, the challenges which we have are like we don't have uninterrupted power supply. Like it's the basic issue over there, and the terrain is very difficult. And this is where I would like to say that the drones are going to be in the forefront in the times to come. And I see it especially in the agriculture sector. The requirement would be, as per which I have observed, is during the initial survey of the project, when we go to a hilly village, and then when we are locating the patches of land which we will be like going for the plantation, clearing the weeds and everything. For that purpose, it's not really possible for someone to manage those activities by going at each and every places. But yes, a drone survey would is necessary and required in all those places. And secondly, some of the one more application of drones in agriculture in Uttarakhand I can give you is that these forests are frequent for fires. So by using the drones, what we can do, we can throw in some balls which go and have the, that those things which can extinguish the fire. Those fire extinguishing balls are there nowadays. So those can be placed with the help of drones at strategic locations and all those stuff. And third requirement which we have is like uh, especially during like if we have to carry out some emergency evacuation or something like that, it's very possible to send in a stretcher or a rope to the someone who's fallen off from the cliff or something like that, because rescue sometimes we have to go on rescue and it has to be done manually. So in those things I think drone is going to come up big. And I came across a group called Sankpal Taru, which is also into this farming and agriculture, and those people are planting trees using drones. They are making a what cow dung ball. There is a seed put inside a cow dung ball, and those balls are like spread across the places where we cannot possibly go there, and use a drone to spread, to plant trees and everything. So those are the things we are which I think I should speak upon when opportunity comes on this thing, drones on agriculture. And what else I would say, like uh,
Okay,
yeah, for
we'll take some more questions from you, Gaurav. If you can,
yeah,
wait for another half an hour. I'm sure we will have something great coming out of from your side, basis the questions that
sure,
you.
sure. I'll be on the call, but I'll also be driving, so you guys can.
No worries,
I'll
no
be very
worries,
much
no worries.
present, but did you want?
But
Yeah, yeah.
drive safe,
Okay.
but don't
Yeah, yeah,
talk
yeah. Sure,
about
sure, sure.
driving.
Sure, sure, sure. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Okay,
Achha,
okay. I'm online. Yeah. Thanks
yeah.
for.
So so the next question is to Aman. So Aman, like how can you share with our audience as to what is the business model or what is the USP that you bring onto the table when it comes to providing these services to the agriculture segment? If you can share a little insight about it.
So I think one of the major USPs that we have is that we are using these drone-based imaging, to identify best practices, outbreaks, and deficiencies. And we do this using a technology called hyperspectral imaging, which is basically uh, capable of determining very minuscule color changes occurring into a plant due to any kind of biochemical change, be it a fungal infection or bacterial infection. For example, if there is a bacterial blight infestation in the plant, there could be a secretion of style effector proteins into the secretion system of that particular plant. So we can, with the help of hyperspectral imaging, can determine what kind of color changes are occurring because of those proteins that have been secreted into the plant. So we can see beyond human perception. So which is we operate in 400 to 1000 nanometer spectral band. Our human eyes are limited to 400 to 700 nanometers, and we see more than 120 colors. As opposed to our naked eye, which can only see 3 colors, and all the other colors are a combination of these 3 colors. So that is what enables us to determine these very minuscule color changes. Coming to the business model, initially we started the business as a drone advisory company where we sold the advisory particularly for individual seasons to the farmers. We'll be charging X rupees per acre for a particular season. But how we evolved from there was that we started to work upon different problems, and we also identified a lot of challenges that farmers have been facing. So just giving advisory was not sufficient. So because what we needed to see was if we are recommending something, farmer has to implement that for us to actually validate whether it's you know it's effective or not. So what we ended up doing was that we have first tried to understand how farmers are using the advisory, and found out that most of the time, whenever we are recommending certain chemical, those chemicals would not be available. That agri input would not be available in the village. There would be something else, because that would be would be sold in that particular village. So we started to facilitate that through our village level entrepreneur network. So we started to sell them the agri input based on the recommendation that we were making. So that's where we became agri input seller for the farmers based on the advisory that we are giving. So that at least whatever we are recommending is available to them, so that they can take action on the recommendation that we are actually giving. Second was, we were working with the farmers on the ground. We realized that they are using all this advisory. They are using sustainable practices that we are suggesting. They are reducing the chemical residue in their crop, but they're not getting the price which they deserve. So that's where we became a market engaged provider, where we partner with a lot of agri businesses who can purchase from us. So we started to buy from the farmers and sell to these larger buyers, and they offer premiums because the quality of the produce of the farmers that work with us was relatively better than what was conventionally available, and also was free from a lot of residues. So that's how our business model evolved. So we have penetrated the entire value chain, while providing the drone-based advisory at the core, and we work with the entire value chain and throughout the growth in with all the farmers that we engage with. So that's the model, and we simultaneously also work with other institutions. Be it agri-chemical companies, or seed companies, or farm-based companies who can use the drone-based advisory, for us and from us, and offer it to the farmers. So that's another model.
Okay. Thanks, Aman. Now coming to Rajaji, Mr. Raja Raman. Sir, things like security, privacy concerns. So these have, always been associated with the usage of drones, right? If we talk about the earlier, let's say 10 years back, when people used to fly it just for fun. And then the DGCA came in, the Ministry of Civil Aviation came into pictures, trying to get policies around it, regulations around it. So if we talk about the current state, where do you see these things, shaping up? Let's say if we were to talk primarily about the drones and agriculture side of it.
Yeah.
If you can share that.
Sure. See, the security concerns started early on, around the time when it was, DJI was a primary company selling drones here in India, and subsequently there were several other Chinese drones that were imported into India, and then Indian companies started building a lot of drones over a period of time. So during this metamorphosis, today, February 9th, I think, DGFT came up with the ruling on import of drones. And some of the driving factors has got nothing to do with China as a country or nature of the import. It's about the security, the very factor you are mentioning about, because the systems and subsystems used in drones, primarily the communication systems that are used in drones, if it happens to come from China, we found that the data gets pinged to a Chinese server before it comes back to you for your application. So even the videos you take on a marriage hall gets pinged to a service, server in China, and then comes back. So therefore, it was extremely, whatever you are using it for. I'm just mentioning it as simple as this little drones that fly in a marriage hall, to all the way up to different agricultural drones that are flying. It is very important to understand the privacy issues that are involved with that. There are two types I can address it. One is the overall nature of data that the drone collects in terms of geocodes in which it's operating. For example, if you are flying this drone in Telangana, and then you are trying to do Guntur district or something like that, around that place, which is one of the largest producer of chilies in India. Now, if this data goes to another country, what is the security issues that can happen is unthinkable, actually. The kind of the crop data, the kind of environmental data, the kind of geographical data. So many things are involved, which can get in a moment's notice, it can get out and come back. And the problem is what happens to this data being available to another country. So this is security level of highest nature, which became a cause of concern when these kind of policies got introduced, even though it was little painful, because some of the components are manufactured only in China. They are not manufactured in other countries, even though then we were pushed to an extent of finding alternate sources so that we are able to have a drone that is by and large built in India with only critical component dependency on certain countries outside of unfriendly countries. Second is privacy at a lower level. When I say privacy at a lower level, when the drone collects data about farmers, farmer lands, and farmer holdings and things like that, you get a lot of data that gets accumulated in the drone. I mean, that data technically belongs to the farmer. I mean, you can use the data as long as the privacy data are maintained to understand how you want to improve your input composition or to better the drone performance. But that data is again a secret data. So therefore, as a policy in our drones, we do not relay the data to any central server. The data stays in the drone onboard system, so that when there is an insurance claim, we are able to download the log and then figure out what went wrong, and then we are able to transmit the data to the insurance companies so that they can take a call on the insurance payments and things like that. To make it a cloud accessible data, it is sort of a Lakshman Rekha we shouldn't cross unless it is safeguarded by enough agreements or some understanding in place, so that the data what the drone collects is handled in a manner where it doesn't breach any of the privacy laws of the country. Any country in operates, particularly in our country. Okay, so as you rightly said, we have in Daksha, in all our drones, we have made all those arrangements to make sure that the data doesn't get out of the system. The drone they are flying has the data on board that is used only in case of an insurance claim or something like that. Now, if you, in the case of corporate farming, if the corporates own a fleet of drones and they would want to see the parameters, then we enable the cloud functionality for them. So that is something which it's their own land and their own crop, and they want to know in a central manner how exactly it's all happening. So there we enable it. Rahul, did I answer your question?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Raja. Now coming back to Mr. Mathur. Sir, are you around, sir? Mr. Mathur? Okay, so a generic question by the time Mr. Mathur joins in again. To both of you, Aman and Mr. Raja, in terms of suggestions, private, especially coming in from the private sector, on policy support, be it on investment-friendly policies, where do you see the current scenario is in when it comes to all these things? Are you getting government support? Are the policies more pro farmer, or let's say pro provider of the services? What is the current state of scenario in this particular segment?
Aman, do you want to go first, or you?
No, Raja, please go ahead.
Okay. So when we talk about government policies, it is important to understand that the policy comes from two sources. One is the central policies, the other one is state-driven policies. The central policies are right now coming from the submission on agri mechanization. It is SMAM. So they have split this thing into two parts. One is the subsidies and other government support for demonstration purposes, the one for agri services purposes. For demonstration purposes, they have identified institutions like FMTTI, ICAR, KVKs, SAUs, and so many other units where they'll get 100% subsidy support to procure the drone, and their purpose is to demonstrate and then educate the sector on how this can be beneficial to them. Along the same lines, so for demonstration purposes, they've given 75% subsidy to FPOs so that they can start using it for demonstration purposes and things like that. Now, that is on the demonstration side. And on the agri services side, there are, let's say, if you are as part of an FPO, you can get up to 40 percentage for 40 percentage or 4 lakh rupees, 50 percentage or 5 lakh rupees. So I forgot to mention the 5 lakh rupees and 4 lakh rupees. Keep in mind that is the maximum amount it can go to per drone. So that is available for, let's say, custom hiring centers or any kind of FPOs that are using for services purposes. Okay. Similarly, there are similar policies available for students, agri students. A lot of noise. Gaurav, can you mute your microphone, please? Okay. So there are some policies like that which are available, and there are some state level policies that are available. I have found some policies which were recently announced. The day before yesterday, it was announced by Telangana state, 500 crores of drone subsidies and other things are available. In certain states, they are taking measures for drone pilot training. So in MP state, there are some efforts in terms of converting some of the NSTCs or National Skill Development Corporation units into training centers, and they have other forms of training centers which they want to convert. So therefore, these policies are available. As to answer your question, they are all farmer-friendly policies. So how do you farmer/sprayer? I am using this word synonymously because in my little, if I were to draw one data from Mr. Mathur, he mentioned about how 80% of the land holding is smaller farmers. So therefore, farmers may not buy the drones per se. If they buy a drone, they may not have a use for the drone all through the year. So therefore, the sprayers or the rural entrepreneurs, they also have a policy, they come under the policy too. They are the ones who are beneficiaries of these policies, and they can use this for providing the services to the farmers. Otherwise, it becomes extremely expensive for farmers to buy themselves, even if it is covered 50%, still 2-3 lakh rupees investment, and then spending another 7 to 8 lakh rupees on batteries every year is unthinkable for a farmer. So therefore, it is going to be the spraying service providers and CHCs and other people who are going to benefit from this kind of policies, and they will be using it. There are also, last point on this is, there are also special subsidies that are announced by northeastern states and few other states for SC/ST population. Okay, if you are SC/ST or a women owned company or a farmer owned company, you get up to 50% subsidy or 5 lakh rupees maximum, for which are all some of the northeastern states have formulated those policies. So therefore, it is all evolving. It is all thing. One last word on this is that when it comes to these policies, something phenomenal is happening in our industry, which is Agri Ministry, Fertilizer Ministry, MOCA, which is Civil Aviation Ministry, Finance Ministry. All 4 ministries are working together to make these things happen, which is something unthinkable. I've never seen this before in my life. So this is something which is amazing. It's happening at an amazing speed. And I hope we will see all those being rolled out through NABARD programs and through other forms of cooperative and state and central bank programs.
Okay. So from Mr. Mathur, a leading question from the talk that he delivered. Sir, so how big is the market size for drones currently, and where do you see it in the next 5 years, let's say from down the line from now?
Tough to estimate. I think you can build multiple assumptions to figure out the market size. But all I say, it's pretty large. In India, the arable land in agriculture is 161 million hectares. There are 2 cropping cycles, right? So I'm sure someone must have done the estimation. But yeah, I think it's a very large market. And if you start extending to other sectors, it becomes even larger. So I don't have numbers with me, but all I can say that 5 years time, the growth is bound to be exponential, because we haven't touched the tip of the iceberg in terms of the potential which is available with us. And I think a lot of it is going to be driven by startups, especially. And as Raja said, that the policy side is working at a in a very collaborative way, as well as in a with a lot of speed, which is going to accelerate a lot of development that we see in the ecosystem. On the startup side, I would like to see some dedicated incubators, accelerators, which can help these startups in go to market and validate, and some a strong drone dedicated centers of excellence and incubations and acceleration programs would definitely help, which can be catalytic in nature. And, so yeah, I feel bullish. I'm sure it's going to see a lot of action. Of course, in few years, I have no doubt in my mind it will be few billions dollar worth of industry.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's going to be great, especially if it delivers on the promise. I think that's very important, especially for farmers.
Okay.
Can it save cost? Can it save 5,000, 10,000 rupees, and which goes as part of the labor and which goes into agrochemicals? How that can be cut, and it can be, as I mentioned, if if you can also, in addition to spraying, if you can provide other data-centric services using drones, that can also be extremely useful. And it's not that a farmer has to pay for it. There are other supply chain partners who can become customers for you. So that's my view. Short
Okay.
to medium term, it's going to be.
So incidentally, yes, yeah.
Rahul,
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
I have done some number crunching. If you don't mind, I can share.
Please, sir, please.
So I'll try to make it very brief. See, I have taken 10 crops, top crops in India, and 20 top states in India. Based on that, starting with rice all the way up to jute, I have the split up and things like that. Overall, it is 166 million hectares of land that are available farmland as per ICAR data. And in the case of rice, is about 3 sprays if it's a single season crop, and if in the case of something like chili, you can do as much as 24 sprays. So we have taken an average of 6 sprays. That creates a spray area of around 2.4 billion acres, if you convert all that, for only the top 10 crops, 2.4 billion spray acres, actually. So which means that you have to use drones within a year to spray all these things. So if you were to look at this as a mega market size, and if you were to say drones are going to address that 20% of this size, okay, remaining 80% will not convert to drones. They are all going to be manual. We are still talking about this 20% of this will be requiring somewhere in the vicinity of 25 to 40,000 drones, approximately, depending on the type of drones one goes for, either a 10 liter or a 16 liter drone. So 25,000 drones to around 40,000 drones will be the 20% market size. If you take the overall market size, it comes to somewhere around 1.5 lakh drones or so. But it's very unlikely that everyone will go for a drone, away from manual spray anytime soon. So therefore, this kind of gives you an idea as to, this is my own analysis based on ICAR data. I may be off sometimes in some assumptions, but I thought I'll give you some idea.
Okay. So I think we are coming closer to the end of the session. And to end it, I think I should ask one last question from each of the panelists present right now, starting with Mr. Mathur. Drones, if you talk about, so how do you see drones as the future of Indian farming community? And first is this, and second part, leading part is, are you also looking at investing in companies who are manufacturing drones in India?
Yeah. So I would say drone will be as integral as tractors are today. Tractors are very inspirational for a lot of farmers. I guess drones will get there. I think it all depends on, as I mentioned, the farmer benefits and how service providers, instead of farmers owning the drones, can someone own the drone and provide services and make sure that assets are utilized in a proper way? That is going to be the key. And we are already seeing that in tractors also. The tractor rental market is far bigger than the tractors, right? So I think a very similar thing can happen in drones. Of course, I think one thing which we didn't discuss, drone financing. I think those models are still not placed. So, would bankers be comfortable financing drones? Because I'm assuming it can be hypothecated, but does it has a resale value and stuff like that? And what are the challenges? Like tractor financing is a very, very evolved market. It's equivalent to automobile financing, car financing, etc. But can drone financing by banks, can it take off? I think that could also accelerate a lot of adoption. As an investor, yes, we are open to invest in hardware plays. But yeah, there has to be something different. It can't be an imported drone. There has to be something different about the hardware. There has to be ideally some proprietary tech, some patented tech. I think that's what we want to see, especially when it comes to hardware investment. But yeah, I think that's also a huge opportunity. But yeah, those kind of investment need a different mindset. You need to have a lot of patience, because I don't think to sort of build the hardware in a few weeks or months. It may even take years to evolve it to level where it is ready for commercialization. So you need much more patience. You need sort of a deep tech mindset in some ways to stay invested for a long time. But yeah, that's something we are very open.
I see. Question to Mr. Raja and Mr. Raman. So where do you see your organization, respective organizations down the line again, 3 to 5 years from now, as well as the farmer that you are servicing currently, keeping in mind? So how do you take this as a challenge, or is it an opportunity? If you could talk about it.
Yeah, please go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think what we are looking at is that we are looking to scale our operations in multiple geographies, multiple states, working on different crops, and we have seen interest from the farmers. So I think while there are a lot of challenges, there are a lot of opportunities in those challenges as well. Particularly in addressing the problem of scale. Drones are believed to be a lot of people think that drones are labor intensive, but what we see it as a challenge is that how we can scale it to multiple geographies by reducing the cost of capital particularly, and also investing in a lot of resources which can help us, as Madhu sir mentioned, that to bring out the mostly the value out of the asset that is being deployed in particular geographies. So that's where we are headed. I think our business model is also evolving in that direction, and we hope to see our Bharat Drone centers across different locations, and that's what we are working towards, and also integrating the business model for the entire value chain, right from the stage of sowing and harvest, and from agri input sale to advisory, as well as spraying and the procurement. So that's how we see it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Raja? Yeah.
From our point of view, we being a drone manufacturer, and we do a lot of research and development, we see the technology growing in a few dimensions. One of the things we are right now doing is to see what is the bare minimum manual interventions you can have in a agri drone. Can the drone come back, autofill itself on the pesticide, or we manufacture IC engine drones, so can we autofill the petrol as well, so that we don't have to have manual interventions? That is on one side. Second thing is that we also realize that while the drone comes back, unlike American, I've lived in US for 15 years, so I know how the American things work. It's slightly different than India. In India, we have the entire family working in the field. You have kids playing around in the field and all those stuff. So we need to protect the drone from creating any kind of a security risk, whether the props can cut somebody's hand, and those kind of things are always there. So we need to protect them. So we are working on ensuring that it is highly protected. It is a very safe device to use. Third thing we believe is that we are going in the direction of making the drone a lot more affordable. we have to figure out a way in which, where in spite of all the subsidies and other things that are available, can we have so we work closely with financial institutions to see, make it more affordable, so that it is the ROI in our drones is typically about 6 to 7 months time. So therefore, because the operation costs are very low, so we are trying to reduce the capital cost also to a very low level. So if you look at it, we have reduced it by 50% in the last 1 year. So which means that we constantly look at ways in which we can bring more value, make it more affordable. I go by Clay Christensen's theory of, get things done, but get it cheaper, get it done faster. And so therefore, we are looking at that as the number one priority. Of course, there is a little bit of research that is right now we are focused on in terms of using artificial intelligence, where a drone can auto-detect areas of attention, whether it's water deprivation or it is a scorching effect or because of overspraying and things like that, and then can it address those kind of issues. But that will make the drone a lot more expensive. So therefore, we are very careful about how we want to address those. When can we set aside those for some larger farm fields, and then, so we are trying to work as come up with something in the next 5 years. We wanted to have our customers have a very automated experience by using our drones. That is one way in which we are growing, and I'm sure that will attract the market by itself. So
great, wonderful. I think technology overall, I think crux of the discussion is that technology is definitely helping the farmers at large in terms of addressing their grievances. And at the same time, I believe we also need to keep this in mind, that the technology actually doesn't harm this particular community in a way that they forget their roots, and the money is also drained out using these technologies, and ultimately the result is nil. So that is something I believe we need to maintain a decent balance between everything, so that all the stakeholders are happy and they all flourish together. So with this thought in mind, I think I should wrap up this session, and sincere thanks to all of you, Mr. Rajaraman, Mr. Amandeep, Mr. Hemendra Mathur, Mr. Gaurav Kestwal, Mr. Saurabh Srivastav, and Mr. Prem, who could not join because of some last minute urgency. So thank you, a big thank you to all of you, and we hope to be connected with you guys in future as well. Thanks.